It's a moment of transition in British broadcasting, the rumoured and now all but confirmed departure of Gary Lineker from the BBC, a titan of post-match punditry. Lineker has been at the helm of Match of the Day for a quarter of a century, but this isn't merely a story about football or even about media careers. It's about impartiality, identity, power, and the risks of public speech in a digital age. Lineker is expected to announce his departure from the BBC today. And the BBC, it seems, has concluded that his position has become untenable. It's even put out an article saying that he's expected to resign, not because of declining ratings or footballing faux pas, but because of a social media storm away from the BBC itself, ignited by a pro-Palestinian Instagram post that included an image widely recognised as an anti-Semitic trope, a rat. And Lineker has since apologised, saying he was unaware of the symbolism and insisting he would never knowingly post anything anti-Semitic, but the damage, reputation and political appears to have been done. This isn't Lineker's first brush with BBC impartiality guidelines. In March 2023, he was temporarily suspended after comparing government rhetoric on asylum seekers to that of 1930s Germany, and that row triggered a rewriting of the BBC's social media policies that Lineker has always found constraining. As he put it himself, "Why shouldn't I have an opinion? I'm a bloody footballer turned presenter." And absolutely, and I think in some ways it seems absurd that when somebody does something away from their public job, that they should be penalised for it. But the candour, once his charm, is now being treated as a liability, and the BBC's Director General Tim Davie recently observed that the BBC's reputation is held by everyone, and when someone makes a mistake, it costs us. I think it's being a bit pompous about its own reputation, because that reputation is failing. Lineker suspects the BBC has been quietly manoeuvring him towards the exit. In an interview with The Telegraph, he said, "Perhaps they just want me to leave," and there was that sense of that. He later named Alex Kajelski, the BBC's new director of sport, as the man reshaping Match of the Day into something more journalistic and implicitly less Lineker. In 2024, he confirmed his exit from Match of the Day, but not the BBC, and now that halfway house arrangement is ending and he won't front the 2026 World Cup. That split, though not officially acrimonious, is unmistakably political. And Lineker has become a kind of moral barometer for many, or a lightning rod, depending on your view. On Gaza, he said, "If you're silent on these issues, you're almost complicit." And critics argue his commentary is selective, vocal on Palestinian suffering, but conspicuously quiet about the Hamas atrocities of October the 7th. Actually, we should be talking about both. His refusal to be silent is rooted, he claims, in empathy. You either have empathy or you don't, he said, but empathy in his telling sometimes overrides even nuance, and his critics within the Jewish community and the BBC staff, shaken by the symbolism of his recent post, do not see the empathy reflected in his choices. There's irony here. Lineker is departing not because of what he did on air, but because of what he posted online. A man whose public career rests on speaking into a camera has stumbled ultimately over a picture shared with a caption, "Privately." This is a parable of modern celebrity, where the space between personal conscience and institutional constraint is narrower than ever. Yet, this isn't quite a fall. It is, by his own account, a pivot. Lineker's Goal Hanger podcast's empire racked up about 40 million downloads last year, and with the rest his football and collaborations with Alistair Campbell and Rory Stewart, he is now better known to many as a podcasting mogul than a football anchor. And when he says his next move won't be on telly, it's not resignation, it's redirection. So what legacy does Lineker leave behind? He took Match of the Day from the staged Saturday night viewing to something approaching cultural touchstone stuff. Under his stewardship, Match of the Day pulled in over 5 million weekly viewers. He blended analysis with charm, criticism with humour, opinion with openness, and he did it while navigating the increasingly treacherous terrain of celebrity in the digital age. Some will see his departure as the price of moral posturing, others as a principled stand in a compromised media landscape. Was he reckless? Possibly. Was he authentic? Undeniably. He may have misunderstood the reach and the resonance of certain images, but he was never misread. But he's never misread his own voice. He knows what he thinks. Gary Lineker's BBC career ends not with a final whistle, but with a question. What is the role of public figures in political debate? How can institutions like the BBC enforce impartiality in an age of identity politics, social media activism, and moral urgency? Maybe when famous figures like Lineker find that television cramps their style and they can no longer be contained in that box, then they ought to be thinking of a move towards Westminster, a move towards dedicating their passion to the public good. As Lineker himself put it, you've got to be able to live with yourself. Well, yes, that perhaps is the truest answer you'll get. But not only living with yourself, you've got to live with others. And that comes down to living in the city, the polis. That comes down to politics.